My last guest, Georgina Shaw, is well known in Marbella for her show marketing and PR company. But how did she end up here from London? And what does it take to set up a PR agency is what you will discover in this episode. Besides work and her clients, we will also touch on her year spent in Peru, her family life, favorite places, and a lot more. Enjoy!
Got this amazing opportunity for you to be a communications director in a leading Marbella agency. I thought, gosh, I wasn't very high up the ladder in London, you know. I was like struggling to get
PR girl.
Struggling to get the next step up to account manager level. And I thought, is this for real, you know? But it was actually my mum who said, rather than think why to come, think what you would feel if you didn't go.
And you can always go back.
Exactly.
That's what I thought when I came here, that I can always go back, but will I leave later on, 5-10 years later? No, probably not.
Exactly.
You settle in your country.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I came here really determined to just be single.
Okay.
I was going to be single, I was going to do my own thing, and I met my now husband within 1 week.
Oh. So that was it. 1 week of singledom.
1 week of singledom. And I think that anyone that's watching this and thinking, I wish that I could be in Marbella doing this, I would say, you know, don't underestimate your skill set. Because when you come from a bigger place, in London was no big deal. I was just another girl in a PR agency. But suddenly here, my skills were so much more valued. And that, exactly what you say, just showing up, doing what you say, being organized is like huge. People really fall over themselves for it.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Georgina in Pasaya Beach. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me on Tene. I'm excited to see you again. It's been many years.
I know. And you always actually invite me to places. So I'm happy to invite you back.
Perfect.
But this time on one-on-one with you. And I'm really eager to know more about you because I feel like I've known you for so many years, but actually, how much do I really know you? Or overall, like how much do people actually know about you?
Yeah, well, you know, us marketers, we tell the world about everybody else, but we don't often tell them about ourselves. So this is a rare opportunity for me to actually be asked about what I'm doing.
Yeah, let's dive in. So can you just introduce yourself and just tell me a little bit about your background? Where are you from?
So my name is Georgina Shaw and I'm from London originally, South London, Clapham. And I have been over here in Spain for, it's going to be 16 years in September.
Wow.
And we run a marketing company called Shaw Marketing Services. And we've been pretty much doing that since 2008 we opened the business.
Okay, so, but did you always know you want to be in marketing? Were you always like a good communicator, or how did you find your way into marketing?
It's interesting. I was always a good communicator, but I come from a family of advertising.
Oh.
So both my parents were in advertising in the 80s.
So you grew up with it?
I grew up with it, but it made me absolutely determined not to want to do it.
Oh.
Because, you know, whatever your parents do is not cool. And I thought it looked too hard. They were working too hard. The hours were too long. And so I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a presenter. I wanted to be out of that world.
But you were quite extrovert then. You wanted to like, you know, communicate. And like...
always good with all of that kind of performance style. But then as I then kind of got into my career, I did teaching to start with as an English teacher, traveling around. And then when I kind of came back to look for a proper job, I thought about events because I always loved to throw parties. And so I started off in events, seminars, conferences, that kind of thing. And then it just kind of naturally happened that I met somebody at a wedding who said, you should be in PR. You seem like someone should be in PR. I was like, okay, well, have you got a job for me? And he said, yeah. I do actually. And so I started working for this event PR business and just loved it. I loved the variety. I liked the communication aspect, the writing and the client handling. And I thought, yeah, this is my career, definitely. And I could combine the events side of things as well.
But did you go and study it somewhere, or were you just self-made?
I followed on afterwards. So I have a degree from English literature and philosophy, which is useful to nobody.
No, but in writing, for sure, it helps.
Writing and the philosophy is the kind of blah, 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 you know. But once I sort of found what I wanted to do, I then got the PR agency that I was working for to sponsor me to do a Chartered Institute of Marketing postgrad diploma. And that was brilliant. And doing it with a job was fantastic because I could actually apply what I was learning each day. And that was really, really good for me to kind of get the sort of theory behind what, it's not rocket science marketing, but there are certain things that, certain practices, certain case studies that it is helpful to know. So I was definitely pleased to have done the diploma.
So you were then in London working for this PR agency. What happened next? How did you end up here?
End up here, yeah. Well, I was looking for a new job, and I was just thinking, I don't really know. I just broke up with a partner, and I was sort of like, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? And a friend of mine was leaving to go around the world. And she said, why aren't you thinking of going somewhere else? And it just got me thinking, I don't need to be in London. There's nothing tying me down. So that evening I applied online for a recruitment agency, one in New York and one in Spain.
Oh my God.
Because I'd already lived and taught English in Peru, so I spoke good Spanish. So I thought, well, that could give me an edge. And then I kind of forgot all about it. I was looking for another job in London. And then this recruitment agency phoned me out of the blue saying, are you still looking for to relocate? We've got this amazing opportunity for you to be a communications director in a leading Marbella agency.
Oh.
I thought, gosh, I wasn't very high up the ladder in London, I was like struggling to get
PR girl.
Struggling to get the next step up to account manager level. And I thought, is this for real? I did a phone interview with the boss, and she basically offered me a job on the spot.
Wow.
And said, come start whenever. So within a month I was here. I just closed down my life in London and just came and took a chance on it.
So how old were you then?
I was 28, something like that. Yeah.
So in your prime years.
Yeah. And it was just, for me, I thought, well, it was a difficult decision to make because I wasn't sure what this opportunity would give me. But it was actually my mum who said, rather than think why to come, think what you would feel if you didn't go.
And you can always go back.
Exactly.
That's what I thought when I came here. I thought, I can always go back. But will I leave later on, 5-10 years later? No, probably not.
Exactly.
You settle in your country.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a great opportunity. And I think the minute I arrived, I just thought, this is it. This is the place for me. I just fell in love with it. And I just thought, I've made the right move.
Yeah. And how did it go? So how many years did you work in that agency? And how was that experience?
It wasn't the smoothest of rides. It was a great experience. It was an agency called Media Machine with Louise Cook, who was very, very well known down here, still working here. And she was a brilliant boss and really helped me to settle in and learn everything. I was managing a team of 2. The client was like Nicky Beach, the first client. I was like, this is the life. This is a bit different.
Great.
But unfortunately for her and for I, this was the time of the recession just about to hit. So it was 2008, 2007 September that I arrived. And as we all know, 2008, it just went. So I had sort of 6 months here working and learning the ropes and getting to know the media. And then, basically, poor thing, she lost probably well over half her clients. And there just wasn't room for another person in that business. So I decided to step away from then. And, it was a hard decision for both of us, I think, but the right one. And then it was like, what next? What do we do? But I've met my now husband. And I really loved the life in London, here in Marbella. I didn't really want to go back to London. I feel like I would have gone back sort of feeling like I'd failed in a way. And so my husband's been in business before and said, look, you're good at what you do. I've had a business before and I can help you. I'll do the business side. You do what you do. Let's have a go. And so we just sort of started from absolutely zero in the worst part of the crisis.
But look, here you are, still going strong.
It was quite a thing. I mean, we needed to start with a very low risk strategy because we were aware that there just wasn't much money out there.
Yeah.
So we begged, borrowed, and stole pretty much everything. So my first logo was my dad's old logo, and I just scanned it off a letterhead.
Yeah,
And said, fine, Shaw Marketing Services, good, logo.
Good. Works.
Thanks.
And there you were following your parents'
am.
footsteps. I'm sure they were proud of you.
Yeah, they were. They were really surprised though, because I said I didn't want to. And then we swapped things. So lovely designer Paul Scotton, who's still around, we swapped a designer leaflet I did some copy for him. And we just basically, I think our whole outlay to set the company up was like €100.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And we just kept like that very, very kind of low, little tiny jobs, swapping skills, networking like mad. And we were picking up little jobs, but hanging on in there basically until, so probably I would think our big kind of break, I would say, was in 2012 when we won the Specsavers account. And having a global name like that on our books suddenly changed everything a bit. And also that was 4 years after the crisis. So we were coming out. Some people had some budgets. And that felt like really that was kind of the changing point.
Amazing. So that was probably the hardest part of starting the business, I'm assuming.
Yes.
From then onwards, you've been just going on
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because I think because of the time we started in, we had such low expectations and we kept it so low that we were fine. We knew we were ticking over. My husband at the time was working for an SEO company who gave us some copywriting work. And so really with that, we could keep the lights on, we could keep the business going, food on the table. But then it was kind of, I think, actually, as we grew, we actually found things more difficult because we kept getting to that point of, do we expand? Do we take people on? Do we get an office? Like people are expecting us to be more maybe. And that was, I think, harder because suddenly our lifestyle was more expensive, the expectations, the business costs were higher. And so then when we lost clients, which is inevitable, fact of doing business, it became more challenging because what we had to keep up to was more of a challenge.
But what do you love most about your job? What do you love?
It's a great question. I think I like the variety and the people. I'm meeting people all the time, great people like yourself, people in the business community, interesting people with a story to tell. That's why they come to me. And telling their stories and getting it out there into the world is a real pleasure. And it's really, there's never a dull moment because you're always learning and it keeps me interested and engaged.
And how do you get your clients usually? Do you do a lot of marketing for yourself or do they just come by your name now as you're quite well known?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. As I said before, I started with networking and it was all about the networking and that has put me in such good stead. I'm sure you know Ali and the guys at Costa Women, they just took me, gave me a big hug and were real cheerleaders for me over the years. And I think just meeting so many people over the years and still being there, still being seen, people kind of go, okay.
And you're also hardworking and you're persistent and consistent and you're not here for a season and leaving.
Exactly.
I think people really appreciate that here.
I think they do. It's not the norm, weirdly, here. Not in a big city where you expect that.
Like established companies, you have new companies here every year.
Exactly. So we were doing that networking as our main form of promotion. Then my husband is on the online marketing side, so he's been doing pay-per-click advertising for us, a little bit of SEO, but we're just doing it for ourselves. But we've spent very, very, very little on our marketing for ourselves, actually, and just made sure that we've got that consistent web presence. And that, I would say, is where most of our clients come through. Then we have the referrals from people we know. And funnily enough, now that we've been here for so long, we're getting clients come back to us, after maybe decades, saying, I've got a new business now. Can you help me with this one?
That's great.
And that's really, really nice because we've already done the work, if you like, of getting the trust and people knowing what we're like. And so it's really fun to reconnect with those old clients, find out what they're doing and help them all over again.
So who would be your dream client to have? Do you have a dream client list that you wish to have? Do you believe in manifestation? Do you have some goals that you set? Or do you just like kind of go with the flow?
Sort of go with the flow. I think I do believe in the kind of laws of attraction because every time we lose a client, another one comes.
It's like the universe doesn't like an empty spot.
No,
it fills it.
Incredible, and never. I think we've had maybe a couple of times in our over 15-year history where we've had a hole. Pretty much always, there's things that have come in and replaced. So I do believe in that, but in terms of who I particularly want to get, I found when I push, it doesn't come, and I think there's that sense of desperation when you go really hard on new business like that, that people go, you know, what's this called falling? Why is she can't be very good in you know, doing this.
But just like let's say just like dreaming, I don't know, maybe it's just something big like Dior or some bigger companies that you dream of just working for.
Well, I've really enjoyed the work I've done with hotels. Really enjoyed that. So one of my sort of after Specsavers, one of the next kind of landmark clients for us was the Marbella Club. And I had literally just had my baby 3 weeks earlier.
My God.
And the marketing manager of the Marbella Club calls me. And I don't believe it's the marketing manager of the Marbella Club. I think someone's having a laugh. and he was like, no. Oh, I found you on LinkedIn. We're looking for a communications manager. And you look perfect. Are you free?
Yes, but I had a baby.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm a little bit busy with the baby, but sure, yeah, absolutely.
How can you say no?
You can't say no. So I said, well, look, let me come in for a meeting with you and let's see how it goes. Like, closing the door on the crying baby. No one needs to know about that. And then in the end, they originally wanted somebody in-house, but I managed to convince them to bring the agency on.
Okay.
And only go in 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. So I could keep time with my son. And my husband had always said he was happy to be a stay-at-home dad. So I went, okay, are you sure?
You said you wanted
yep. So we went like that. And that was so much fun and really interesting. And as you know well, Marbella Club has just an amazing story and people want to write about it. So it was dreamy, to be honest. And lovely characters like Count Rudy, who is just one of the most interesting men in Marbella. You know, talking to us, telling me their story so that I could pass it on. And that was a really beautiful client to have. And we were with them for a couple of years. And then we moved on to the Kempinski Hotel Bahia as well in Estepona a year or so after that. And again, just so many cool things to talk about, you know, never a dull moment. So I think if I was to choose a client that I would like, I think another big hotel would be really great because it is just so fun to do influencer marketing, PR, social media, the whole thing. And there's always something to talk about.
This episode is brought to you by Besaya Beach and Tikitano by Besaya. Visit my website to find out more about these beautiful restaurants.
So as you mentioned now obviously the marketing scene has changed so much, influencer marketing, digital marketing, and you probably didn't learn these things in the university. And I don't think you can even go and learn because as we go along daily, these things change and the apps are new and it's overwhelming how fast it's changing.
Totally.
But where do you put your focus on now? Like you said, is it more now digital? Or are you still doing more traditional, using the magazines, or where do you see the marketing going now?
I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? We're definitely the last sort of 5 years, I would say, there's been a real shift from print to online. I don't think print is dead, but I am like recently I've seen a couple of titles go and stop print because the costs are so high. But that doesn't mean I don't think the death of magazines or news, it just means it's in a different place. And I was a bit scared actually at the beginning because I am a bit old school, you know. I thought, can I keep up? But actually I realised that there's lots of terms, but all it is it's the same thing. It's just communication. It's telling your stories, it's getting your messages across, but just in different places. So once I'd sort of realised that there was nothing to be scared about, I really jumped in with both feet. And we'd used social media agencies previously to do stuff for our clients. And as I saw what they were doing, I thought, I can do that.
I mean, even a 10-year-old can do that nowadays.
Exactly. And so I thought, like, I think actually me as the client touchstone is probably a better place to do their social media than another person that's coming through me. And so, so we went into social media, and that works really nicely alongside the other things. I would never drop PR because I think it's what we're best known for, and it's a lot of fun, but it's very unpredictable. As you know, people can print something or not print something.
Yes.
You are totally out of control. And I am a bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
So I think that having like the social alongside, doing other things along with it, business tie-ups, as I said, the influencer marketing side of things, I think they all work together beautifully to you're essentially, I think, testing different mediums, seeing what takes, seeing what works, and you can adjust. And I think with the digital marketing, at least you can see very clearly what is working and what is not. Not always in the way people expect, but you can see your reach, you can see which posts are working. And so I really enjoy that. And from a sort of time management point of view, it's a really good use of time and something that I see definitely works.
Yeah, but it's true what you said about, I worked in La Sala Group marketing and PR as well, doing also some of the communications of the media, and you're sending the press releases, and you, like you said, you don't know, will it get printed? It won't, you never know. But I also quickly realized that when you're in PR, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. You really need to have very good connections with the different mediums, and that's why I think you're very good at your job. Because you're always, you said you're always hardworking, you're always on time, you do what you promise. I think that's very valued, in that world.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's right. And I think that anyone that's watching this and thinking, I wish that I could be in Marbella doing this, I would say, don't underestimate your skill set. Because when you come from a bigger place, in London, it was no big deal. I was just another girl in a PR agency. But suddenly here, my skills were so much more valued. And that, exactly what you said, just showing up, doing what you say, being organized is like huge. People really fall over themselves for it.
Yeah.
And so, I think dare to dream, and dare to say, I can stand out here. I can make it work. It's not always easy, but you can do it with perseverance.
I think so. And I think there's still room for hardworking people here.
Totally. Totally. You might come here and end up doing not what you were expecting to be doing down the line, but as long as I think you go with the flow and you take the opportunities as they come up, there's lots of room for good people down here. People are crying out for good members of staff.
Yes, they're always asking me, can you recommend someone? Because it's best when people come recommended, and they always say good people are hard to find. Yeah, it's true. So you're hardworking, you're on time, you adapt easily. You can make it here.
Come on, we need you.
So how is your Spanish? I assume it's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Did you learn then?
So I was nearly a year living in Peru. And so that's where I got to a very high level of fluency by just having to do it. It was, I think, probably the most terrifying stage of my life, because as a communicator, to walk into a country and suddenly be like,
don't understand anything,
got nothing, like I can't do this. And I was a bit, I'm afraid to say, kind of arrogant British about it, which I was like, everyone speaks English, it's cool. They did not. And quite rightly, they expected me to learn Spanish. And I had lovely people just take me by the hand and literally point things out and say words and be incredibly patient with me. And within 6 months, I was close to being fluent. And then sort of following month after that, my Spanish just went, because suddenly I got the confidence. And so I was like, okay, let's try this out. And it really expanded. But it wasn't very correct Spanish. I just learned it
from the streets.
So when I came back to London after that time, I did like an AS level of Spanish distance learning, just to try and sort of tidy it up and make myself aware at least of what was wrong.
Peru slang.
Yeah. I genuinely didn't know like what I was saying was good or bad. I just was like, well, they say that, so I'm just going to say it too. And I still sometimes wonder if there's some words in my sort of back of my vocabulary that might come out and everyone will fall over laughing. But for a while now, it's been okay.
And what were you doing in Peru?
I was an English teacher.
Oh my God.
So I was a volunteer English teacher in a shanty town, so a slum. And it was incredible, but so hard. I mean, the levels of crime were insane. You really were frightened for your safety.
So you were scared for your life?
I was actually. I was. I just thought, I don't think anyone would come and help me if someone decided they wanted my stuff. Or
they kidnap you or they rob you?
There wasn't so much kidnapping, but definitely robbing. I mean, when I was on a bus just right by the school and someone literally walked onto the bus and just grabbed my sunglasses off my face and walked off.
And you were like, oh, yeah, what are you going to do?
And no one said anything. The bus driver after just said, I won't charge you for your fare.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just paid with my sunglasses.
Yeah. And it was very much understood that the gangs ran that town. The police would not come to the town. It was too dangerous for the police.
Wow.
So we were advised and we were introduced to the nicest gang leader to be seen with him, basically, so that people kind of went, okay, they have some level of protection. But it was scary. It was. And I think I was a bit arrogant, you know. I grew up in London. I'm really hard. You know, no one can touch me. And I'm like, okay.
And then they took my sunglasses.
Yeah, and I go, okay, I'm absolutely powerless. And I think looking like I do, so incredibly Western, you just look like basically you're a walking dollar sign. And people assume you're so rich that you wouldn't miss it, or, you know, it's like worth kidnapping, basically. So it was a scary time, but it was also a beautiful time, and I'll be forever grateful for the kindness that people showed me there, and for the Spanish that I took away, because I think without that experience, you come to the Costa del Sol, you don't need to speak Spanish, and speaking Spanish has enhanced my life beyond measure.
But still, yeah, it's true. I came here without speaking Spanish, but it still helps when she starts speaking, because yes, a lot of the people don't speak, but it's still like, I think, respect for the country, and if you go a little bit away from Marbella, you really need the Spanish. So yes, don't be thinking like, I know people who have lived here 10 years and don't speak Spanish, but I think you should do a little bit of an effort. And,
I like the word you use, respect, is very important to me, because we are guests here. And I will always feel grateful to be accepted, to be welcomed, to be helped. But to try your best with Spanish, and it unlocks so much, and it shows that you value where you've decided to come and live.
I agree. So let's move on to a little bit more your personal life. So clearly you have decided to raise a family here. Yes. How do you think raising a family here is in Marbella?
It's dreamy. I mean, honestly, I can't imagine a better place to be a mum and to have a family. And the reason I say that is the culture is so kid-friendly. You can take your child anywhere with you, and they're welcomed and they're enjoyed, you know. And I remember when Lucas was tiny, he's 12 now, but like we would sit and have dinner and he was in his, you know, stroller. And kids, literally, people from the restaurant would say, can we take him for you so you guys can eat? I mean, the girls in the kitchen want to see him. Should take my little baby over to the kitchen and be fussing over him for like half an hour while we eat our food gratefully.
It's true. They're really gushing over babies and kids and saying, oh, guapa, moreno, rubio.
Exactly. And
very sweet.
The children feel secure, I suppose,
and also seen, you know, they're not just like whatever these kids, but they're like, you know, like respected and
they're part of it as much as you are, which is right. And that means that therefore you can come to a beautiful place like Desire Beach or even a kind of late night bar, and the kids, as long as the kids being good enough, it's perfect.
But I guess it's also because the Spanish are quite loud. They don't mind the kids either. You know, the kids are maybe screaming, or they're like, oh, we don't mind. So I think it works.
Not pressure, is there? There's not the pressure, because I think when you take the pressure off a child, 9 times out of 10 they'll be good. If they're a bit fussy or whatever, they're a kid. It's fine. But I remember the difference when we went back to London, and Lucas said to me, Mummy, why does nobody like me here? And I went, well, I know, it's not really, because everyone's like tutting and looking, and they're looking at me like, what's he doing here? This is for adults.
I get those looks in Estonia too. I feel like, are they not wanted? I mean, hopefully they don't feel it, but it's true. It's like they don't like kids.
Yeah. And it's really palpable. And the kids feel it too.
Yeah. And maybe I wouldn't notice it that much, but I guess if you've lived here and go back, then you're like, oh,
that's it. That's it.
Right.
I remember Lucas was like about 2, and he was kind of on the tube, like, hola, hola, around the supermarket, hola. And no one was like looking at him like, what are you doing?
No,
and you could see him go, why is this not working? This normally works. So then he went, it's the language. So then he was like, hello, 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 still nothing. And he just looked at me and I'm like,
we're in England.
We're not in Marbella anymore, baby.
Yeah, it's crazy how different cultures are in that sense. But
so I love it and I embrace it and I'm thankful for it all the time. And as he grows up and develops, I just feel like the opportunities that are here for him to be out in this beautiful place, play sports all the time, be part of the culture, not just inside in their bedroom. Yeah, I'll be forever grateful for that.
And you and your partner, you've been together for 15 years?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So how was dating when you first came to Marbella? I think you said you broke up with your partner.
Yeah.
So how did you find dating here, or were you not putting any effort into that?
Well, no. I mean, I came here really determined to just be single.
Okay.
I was going to be single. I was going to do my own thing. And I met my now husband within 1 week.
Oh, so that was it. 1 week of singledom.
1 week of singledom. We were introduced by a friend of a friend online. And he just was just really kind and said, well, look, I'm happy to help. I've only just moved here myself. If there's anything I can do or just to be some company or whatever. Just as friends, and then we met and
you just hit it up.
The rest is history.
And it's really sweet to really see couples who stay together so long, because it's not really rare in Marbella. Marbella, you see a lot of, people changing, the partners, and not so many long-standing relationships. But it's actually doable, and you're a very nice example of that. So what is your secret to happy marriage?
Goodness knows. I mean, we've had our ups and downs like every couple. We work together as well, so that brings a whole different dimension. I think we're not afraid to fall out, but know that that's not the end of everything. I think that's probably the biggest secret, because so to our son, look, we might have a row, but we're all good. But we need to say what we need to say,
Can't keep
and
it
then we
in.
move on. Because I think what we did in the past and what it was more difficult was I sort of bottling things up and then I'd burst out and then he'd be like, well, what's happened here then? You haven't told me anything that's been annoying you. And so I think I learnt my lesson there to say, people are not mind readers. They need to know what you're feeling.
Communication then.
Communication.
That's what you're in.
Communication. And it's much more difficult to do in a relationship than in a business.
Definitely.
But I think it's trying to find that way and understand that we're all different and that it's okay for him to like one thing and me to like another. It's okay for us to differ in opinion about business. It's okay for me to overrule sometimes. It's okay for him to overrule sometimes. And that we're not in some picture perfect, movie, but as long as we're a team and we still love each other and it's still worth the work, then bring it on.
Well, it's clearly working. You look very happy. So what do you do in your free time? Do you also spend that with your husband? You work together, free time together, or when is your me time, alone time?
Tene, I'm not very good at me time.
Or you don't want, or you don't need it. Some people maybe don't need it as much.
I don't know. I think I am definitely capable of having that slight sort of mummy martyr syndrome, where I'm like, I've got my actual child and my baby that is my business, and those things really need my focus. And so nothing else matters. But I did actually start going to the gym last year, and that actually made me really happy and a great stress reliever. I'm not always good at keeping it going, but that definitely I found a love for exercise, which I would never have expected because I'm not really one of those kind of girls. But I really enjoyed the sort of resilience I think that helps you develop. And I love to go out with friends, but yeah, I mean, my husband and I and my son are a very tight little unit, and we do most things together.
That's very sweet. That's lovely. Well, so where do you go all together? What are your favorite places in Marbella? Or maybe tours?
Yeah, well, so I live in Manilva,
Manilva.
but I come back and forth all the time, you know. Costa del Sol is essentially like a village stretched out along the coastline. So I love Marbella. I think I've still come back to some old favorites like Hacienda Patagonica in the Old Town for steak is always really good. La Red and Europa along the beaches there. I love for kind of beach time. I'm really enjoying Estepona these days, actually. It's a very vibrant place. Very much.
I've just recently been there, and the promenade is looking beautiful. So many new places. I feel like I have to discover
There's
more.
a lot to discover there. And the town hall are very active. They're putting on lots of events and activities. So we really like to go there. And I mean, we haven't really got kind of our favorite, the places that we always return to. My son goes to school in Sotogrande, so we're kind of discovering that end of the coast as well.
I love Sotogrande. Really, so beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It is so different, I think, from Marbella.
Oh,
it's like
they are
worlds away.
Two worlds. Yeah, they really are.
But just actually, what is it, 35 minutes? Would you say?
Yeah.
And it's not that far. I mean, 35 minutes commuting in London.
Yeah, you would be sat in traffic for that time and get nowhere.
And the drive there is just spectacular.
Yeah.
So
I think we're very lucky that, we talk about Marbella because it's a brand, a very recognized brand, and I think it is the center for the international community. But really, the fact that we have all of this diversity within like half an hour either way, or certainly an hour either way, you can be in Seville and Granada and inland Ronda and, all of these different places, all of which have very separate identities. And I love being constantly surprised by each place I go to.
Yeah, there's so much still to discover, really. I've lived here for years, but I still feel like you said, Estepona or even the Old Town, or there's just so many places opening up and so many new businesses. Even though it's such a tiny place, there's still so much to do.
Absolutely.
And I love Marbella for that too. So anyway, thank you so much for coming. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on? Any advice for the people who want to come?
I mean, I would say, as I said, dream big, come over, see if you can make it happen. As we both said, you can always go home.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to kind of leap and do something different. I think every person that you meet over here has a really interesting story to tell. And so if you think, I'm not sure that where I was born is where I was meant to stay, Marbella is a really good place to try.
It is. And I think there is something magnetic here. But like you said, when you came here, it's like, there is something about this place that really catches you. And it's really easy to feel at home here. Yeah.
It is. Be welcomed by the community.
And I have a little surprise.
Oh, thank you, Tene. What have we got here?
This is very Marbella.
Oh, it is. Champagne for breakfast. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. I will wear it with pride and take it as an instruction.
Yes.
To this weekend.
For your me time.
Yes, exactly.
For the gym.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This episode is brought to you by Sommer, sustainable clothing that is comfy and chic. Visit the online shop sommermood.com.